Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily. Ronnie Rance alongside Tommy Krysan, our first show of 2026. Hope everyone had a wonderful New Year's Eve, New Year's Day with your family or just relaxing off work, whatever the case may be. I know many of you, if you're watching any of these clips or this show, that means that you watched some college football as we had four quarterfinal playoff games. Now we're down to four teams. Two of the playoff games were duds, I guess, and two were good ones. Miami, first off, got the party started. Tommy, the Hurricanes, who very controversial that they got into the dance. A large part of the country thought Notre Dame should have got in over Miami, but Miami got in basically by virtue of their week 2 win, I think, against Notre Dame. And they have proven themselves more than worthy. Picked up 2 playoff wins. They're now in the semifinals. They go to Dallas and win a game on what was that, Wednesday?
Yeah, Wednesday night they got it done against Ohio State. Hurricanes really look good, especially defensively, and they had that swagger they used to have 25 or 30 years ago. You just got to get rid of Michael Irvin off the sidelines. Okay, I mean I don't mind him being there, but don't inject yourself into the story like with the belt after the A&M game, or and that's part of the problem. ESPN putting the camera on him, but hey, let this team and coaching staff enjoy. But anyway, Miami really looked good. Again, people talk about whether or not they should be in. Well, hindsight's 2020, and Miami got it done in convincing fashion against Ohio State, who was the defending national champs.
Yeah, the Hurricanes with Carson Beck. People forget, Carson Beck in his career has 15 wins against top 20 ranked teams as a quarterback. I think he's only lost 5 games in his whole 34, 6-5 or something like that as a quarterback in his whole career. And his it's not that his play is spectacular, but it's that's veteran, steady, consistent, nothing. He doesn't get rattled, sort of influence, probably that confidence that he gives the whole team, being that they know he's been there and done that at Georgia. And now he's got his team in the semifinal. That was a super impressive win against the defending national champs, Ohio State. And now they find themselves the favorite. How about that? You find themselves the favorite in the semifinals against Ole Miss, who Ole Miss came from behind. What a great game. That's definitely the best game of all the quarterfinals so far. The back and forth between Georgia and Ole Miss held on to win last night, but they had to, they were trailing in the fourth quarter. They found a way to win even without Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, they really did. You got to be impressed. What a football game, huh? I mean, just if you didn't care about who won, or if you didn't have a wager, well, what a football game. What a bunch of individual athletic performances that were just unbelievable. And then, I mean, you got to give props to the stage crew who put the stage on the field like 3 times and had to pull it off. That shouldn't have been so messy at the end from a referee management standpoint. But what a job of Ole Miss, Trinidad Chambliss. I mean, Pete Golden, the Hammond guy. I mean, it just was it was just a heck of a fun game to watch. It's one of them you're not turning off. A lot of times people, okay, I've seen enough, not turning that game off. So the Ole Miss Rebels, wow, what a story because of Lane Kiffin going to LSU and the coaches doing. I mean, they're just still working for Ole Miss, Charlie Weiss Jr. and others, but doing double duty. I mean, it's just amazing. And the Rebels, I mean, wow, what a performance that was last night in New Orleans. The Sugar Bowl is the Sugar Bowl, and that's one of the sweetest ones ever.
Chambliss, the quarterback, of course, we've talked a lot about him. He's one of the stories of the year. I mean, what a great year for stories when it comes to quarterbacks. Mendoza wins the Heisman at Indiana, something that, you can't even imagine would ever happen just 2 years ago. And then you got Pavia, almost wins the Heisman at Vanderbilt and has them winning 10 games, something you couldn't ever imagine 2 years ago happening. And then the Ferris State College transfer, Division II quarterback, third string on the depth chart in August, and now you can't even imagine that they had two quarterbacks better than him at Ole Miss. And his performance last night was spectacular. I mean, Chambliss literally took his team on his back on multiple occasions and ran around and scrambled like Fran Tarkenton for those that are 50 and over, the former Vikings quarterback. I mean, he just made chicken salad out of chicken shit sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, he really did. I mean, we now hear more stories about him than we did before, but I like the one when Lane Kiffin told guys, 8, 9 weeks ago, where do you see our backup guy? When Simmons was still in there. And then Lane Kiffin made a statement. He reminds us of Russell Wilson. Of course, Russell Wilson, when he was back in his heyday, who
Right.
did what Chambliss did last night, scrambled all over the place, made the play, on the run, threw the really good pass. I mean, when Russell Wilson was in his heyday, that's what he did. And Lane Kiffin made that analogy, and I think it's spot on. Not Russell Wilson today, but, when he was, really one of the better quarterbacks in the league. So it's unbelievable what Chambliss has done. It's a great story. It's a great, because look, there's more guys on the bench than there are on the field. Any college football. I don't care if it's McNeese, Raging Cajuns, whatever. There's more guys on the bench. And when you're on that bench, Ronnie, we've said this 1,000 times, you have to be ready when your name's called. You have to be ready physically and mentally and make them not be able to take you out the lineup. Well, they couldn't take, because Simmons got healthy, and they couldn't take, Chambliss out of the lineup. So that whole Ole Miss story is quite interesting.
Yeah, he played spectacular. Ole Miss's field goal kicker was amazing. I mean, if you're the NFL, coach, that 47-yard field goal he kicked to win the game, you talk about confident. You talk about striped it right down the middle. Would have been good from 60. I mean, just like big time leg. So that's a player you will see in the NFL. But they're not done. I'm looking forward to the Miami Ole Miss game probably the most, because we've already seen Oregon and Indiana play. Not that it won't be spectacular. Indiana beat Oregon by 10 earlier this year, but we haven't seen Miami versus Ole Miss. We haven't seen, this is the only SEC representative in the semifinals. The SEC had 5 teams in the playoffs. They're down to only 1 left. There's a chance for the second year in a row the national championship game won't have an SEC representative. So that right there, if Miami wins, Tommy, definitely sends a message as to the state of college football and how it is so different now. If in fact Ole Miss does not make the national championship game, and you have a national championship game for the second year in a row, no SEC, even though the SEC on paper, and everyone else feels like it's the better conference, has more depth, etc. This transfer portal and NIL is changing the game. It's leveling the playing field. It's giving teams that normally wouldn't have a chance an opportunity.
Well, back in that stretch when the SEC won, 10 out of 13 national titles, whatever it was, that was the narrative, like it's the best conference. Now the narrative by the SEC is we're the deepest conference. Our bottom teams are better than everybody else's bottom teams because they're not, and that's not going to happen again with one conference wins 10 out of 12. Parity is here. The NFL wanted parity, they got it. Major League Baseball wanted parity, they got it. College football has it. Now, let's don't lose the fact of this. You got 4 teams still in the college football playoffs. All 4 head coaches spent time on Nick Saban's staff. That can't be overlooked.
How about that?
I mean, and Signetti at Indiana said, hey, he gave me the blueprint. But I like the quote the other day. I was just telling a friend of mine, a few days ago, Saban went to play golf with some of his buddies in Tuscaloosa, their regular game, whatever. And they were all putting the clubs on the cart. They all getting ready. And somebody said, Saban to Nick, said, hey, coach, we shouldn't have any trouble with Indiana, right? And he goes, I don't know what you've been watching, but they're going to have a lot of trouble with Indiana. Now, if he's telling that, not on the ESPN game day desk, but he's telling that to his golfing buddies in Tuscaloosa, that kind of made that light go off of me. And I bet big on Indiana, bigger than I normally bet because of that quote. He said, if you guys think we're not going to have any trouble, you haven't been paying attention. Well, he was spot on, correct. Not nobody's perfect or correct every time, but he was correct on that. So, it's going to be. I can't wait till next Thursday and Friday, the 2 semifinal games. I mean, hopefully they can be as entertaining as the Ole Miss Georgia game was. And I'm going to make this comment, right? I'm going to go out on a limb. Sports Shows Daily. based on everything I've been reading and reading in between the lines and watching clips in the last month, I don't think Kirby Smart's at Georgia much longer. He's going to say, like Saban said, I had enough of this. Other coaches, the guy in Virginia in basketball, other people have said, I'm not doing this anymore. This is not what we've been doing. I wouldn't be surprised to see Kirby Smart ride off into the sunset and sit on a TV desk somewhere.
Wow. And that's just
all
a
his
gut
comments
feeling
about the social media to say I'm going back to whatever school. I mean, if you read between the lines, and you and I have been doing this a long time, we've seen thousands of press conferences, and I can just sense that he is frustrated, like Saban got, like Chip Kelly when he left UCLA. I mean, we can make a list of the people who, and then you're going to go to the younger guys like Dan Lanning and Signetti and Pete Golden's 41 years old. Pete Golden's 41 years old. My daughter's 37. He's 41 years old. I mean, that's the thing. So I wouldn't be surprised. Sports Shows Daily, breaking news. Don't be surprised if Kirby Smart doesn't step down.
That would be shocking, Tommy. I mean, he's a young guy.
I'm just reading between the lines.
Granted, he's got all the money in the world to be able to do it. It's also comes down to you got to have something to do in your life. And as frustrating as it may be, what is his other option? Is he going to get the juice from doing TV once a week? Is he gonna want to go be coach in the NFL? Which that formula doesn't normally work. I mean, I don't know. I hear you. I think right now we're in the bitch phase transition of, all the coaches are bitching and complaining because they legitimately have arguments. Hopefully, hopefully they get the protest signs out and they all go march on Indy or whatever the case has to happen, but there needs to be some sort of like, maybe all the coaches can get together and strike. I don't know, because there needs to be some giant, massive national Congress president, they've always talked about it. Nothing's ever happened. Transition, or every press conference is just going to be the same things over and over.
Well, here's another thing, a quote from last week that talks about the new college football. I don't know if it's improved, but the new college football. Pete Golding, coach at Ole Miss, said one of the biggest differences with NIL and college players now is they live on the next street in the country club from him.
Right.
Back in the day, they all lived in Broussard Hall or Livingston Hall, Tucker Hall at Southeastern, the athletic dorms, or they all had, Coach Berman had all the baseball players in a couple of apartment buildings, But now Pete Golden says these players live on the next street over from me in the country club because they have that kind of money now. That's another analogy of how different it is nowadays. And it's true.
Yeah, it's not college football. We almost need to get rid of that
term.
What
it is. It's
they
not
just need to get rid of that term. Yeah, and they just come up with, the American Football Conference. I mean, I don't know. Just come up with something different. And it's not college football, especially at the highest level. All right, TK. The other two games were dogs. I mean, look, Alabama just destroyed. It's amazing how they went from what they did in the second half and the end of the second quarter last week to this week. I guess they just exerted all their energy because they were just an absolute dud. And what an egg Texas Tech laid. My God, to be shut out.
When you won 12 games all by more than 20 points, and then you get shut out. Okay, shut out. You got a goose egg. You got 0. Okay, I mean, when you get shut out by Oregon, who we now know they got a good defense. They got some guys all going to be in the NFL, but you get shut out. Texas Tech. You didn't even score. You got in the red zone once or twice, but I mean that's just not going to get it. That
performance was so bad.
Game was never close. Kind of like Indiana. Watching that Alabama-Indiana game in the second quarter, you knew Alabama couldn't win that football game.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but that was so bad. Texas Tech, I mean, Indiana, Alabama as well. I mean, 3 points, whatever. Those two games were just atrocious. All right, TK, tell us what's going on at Tremonti's this week, next week, whatever.
Well, they're back open today and tomorrow. They were closed yesterday. They're getting ready for 2026. Crawfish coming soon. And of course, Tremonti's, you can order online at tremontis.com. Jefferson Highway in Baton Rouge, they can cater to office party, to function, whatever it is. All the great meat and seafood, wine, bourbon, Tremonti's Meat and Seafood in Baton Rouge. I want you to check them out. And of course, we got Sports Choice Radio tomorrow, Ron. We'll be over at Fat Daddy's in Plaquemine. We'll tell you all about the sandwich of the month. And we're on the air in Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and Lake Charles. Looking forward to that.
First golf round of 2026, Tommy, you got planned today. Where are you playing?
I'm playing at the Bridges over in Bay St. Louis, a part of the Hollywood casino thing. I'm in Slidell right now at a friend's house, an old teammate, and doing the show. And then when we jump on, it's 40 minutes from here to there. So I'm going to play at the Bridges. You know David Birch. He'll be in that lineup today, and we got a couple of us going to go play and hit it around. Supposed to get up to 76 degrees. So,
wow, 76 degrees today.
My first round of 2026 is a couple hours away. So looking forward. Got the Rougarou shirt ready to roll. Got the hat ready to roll. So looking forward to that today, and then of course radio tomorrow.
All right. Well, enjoy. I've never played the Bridges, so enjoy. All right. Tommy and I will be back tomorrow morning for more Sports Shorts Radio live from Fat Daddies and Little Daddies in Plaquemine. Have a great day, everybody. Make sure you tune in on ESPN Radio, Lake Charles, Lafayette, and Baton Rouge tomorrow at 10 to noon. Have a good one.